right, so here's part two of how to find loyal leaders that you can lead. Point number nine. Treat everyone fairly, but not equally. Let me explain to you what I mean by this. I visit so many offices and I see so many businesses that are ran in a way and they don't even know it. They're running it in the old Russian regime that was purely communism. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. They treat everybody equally and fairly. There isn't anybody that's not being treated better and they're spending more time to because they're performing at a different level. If you create that kind of an environment, here's what will happen. You'll keep the lower performers with you, but you will not keep and retain and have loyal, high performers in your organization. Can you imagine if you're Phil Jackson? I want you to think about this. I'm Phil Jackson, you're Kobe Bryant, you're Michael Jordan. You're coming to the team. And at any point, we can only have 5 players on the floor. And 5 players, we have a total of 48 minutes of playtime. We're talking about roughly 240 minutes of playtime, right? And I got 12 players. Typically, a great player will get 35 to 40 minutes of playtime. Can you imagine if I tell all the players at 12 minutes, guys, listen, here's what we're going to be doing. I think we need to be more equal. We got 12 players here. Everybody's going to get 20 minutes of playtime for a total of 240 minutes. Everybody is. What do you think Michael Jordan would do? He would leave your team and go to somebody else. And Phil Jackson would never do that. If you didn't perform, you didn't get playtime, he would bench you. And he may bench you for 9 days, 9 games, 10 games. So goes with Pat Riley and Bill Belichick and the great coaches because they don't treat everybody equally. They treat people fairly, but they want performers. And if you want to create an environment where your higher achievers are loyal to you, you need to understand what kind of a regime, what kind of a organization, what kind of a culture you are creating around. Are you more towards communism or are you more towards capitalism? The great thing about capitalism and free enterprise is, and everybody's a capitalist, but if somebody says I'm not capitalist, our natural tendencies is a tendency of a capitalism. Our natural tendencies will tell us what we're really all about. We like recognition. We like to do things individually that we get recognized as well, on top of collectively as well. Sports is purely capitalism. And so you got to learn how to treat everybody fairly but not equally. Point number 10. You cannot challenge everybody the same way. I see so many leaders, the way they challenge this guy is the same exact way they challenge this gal, is the same exact way they challenge this. Everybody's different. One of the books I'll actually recommend to you on that is 5 Love Languages. I recommend every CEO, business leader, sales leader, anybody that's doing any vice president, marketing director to read this book, 5 Love Languages. Here's why. The book is about relationships. So what did it have to do with sales? Everything. It says there's 5 ways people like to have love shown to them. 1 is words of affirmation. You're so amazing. You're so great. 2 is quality time. Some of your leaders want you to put some one-on-one time into them. 3 is receiving gifts. Hey, I got a book for you. I got a gift for you. 4 is acts of service. And 5 is physical touch. Everybody is different. By the way, players and performers don't all come in the same shape, size, personality, color. Everyone's different. But what you're looking for is this. You're looking for fire in the belly. You're looking for heart. You're looking for somebody who wants to get after it. It has nothing to do with how many degrees they have, how much education they have, what background. It has nothing to do with that. You're looking for this here. If you can find this, the rest should work out for you. So 5 love languages. Learn how to not challenge everybody the same exact way. And by the way, when you learn how to challenge them, they'll definitely appreciate that as well when you learn how to challenge different people. Point number 11. It's on you to protect their egos. I hear a lot of times people say, this guy's so egotistical. I like to work with guys that don't have an ego. I'm sorry. Anybody who becomes a president, they have an ego. You know what they think they are? They think they're a badass. No one becomes a president not thinking they're a badass. They got massive egos to become a president. Any Jordan, any Kobe, any Steve Jobs, any high achiever, they got massive egos. The challenge you're having is not the fact that they have a big ego. Your challenge is you don't know how to lead people with big egos and explain the different kinds of egos. The lower level ego to me is someone that comes to you and they want respect. They know they've done things and you got to give them respect, but they want you to help them out and they want to learn. They're coachable, they're teachable, they're learnable. They're going to ask a lot of questions of why. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? They're not blindly going to do something. You need to explain to them why. But generally, if you use common sense and you explain it to them, they'll take it from you. But they have egos. The ones that you don't need to waste your time with is those who come and tell you about a degree they have and how fancy of a degree it is, and all the lower level people, I'm above everybody because I have a degree and you guys don't, and they want to go and start right here without ever done the lower level part, without learning sales, without doing any of that stuff. You don't need to worry about earning their loyalty. Let them go to another company. You keep the people that have an ego that want to perform. But this is what I'll tell you. Best book I'll recommend on that is this, First Rate Madness. See, I love this book, and I'll tell you why I love this book. This talks about the madness of crazy performers, such as Kennedy, Lincoln. This is by far one of the best books I've read on how crazy people are out there. You want crazy people with big egos in your company, in your organization that you want to lead. So the challenge isn't finding ego people. The challenge is you're learning how to deal with other people's ego and not getting your own ego offended, because you got to drop your ego if you want to lead other people with big egos. If you got a big ego and you lead with this, you're going to have a hard time with this. By the way, they also want to make sure that you have an ego as well, but you know how to set it aside and talk to them and challenge them and give them suggestions and requests on things to do. Point number 12, ask for their opinions regularly. In my organization, when I lead my executive team, or if I lead the leadership team that I have, I always like to ask, what did you think about that? How would you have done it differently? What do you think about this? But I also say, I want you to know, even though I'm asking for your opinion, there's an 80% chance we're not going to implement what you're suggesting, but there's a 20% chance we will consider and do something about it. And they like the fact that you're being fair and open with them. So at the same time, out of the 20% of the ideas that we implement, guess where 90% of the ideas came from? It comes from your leaders. It doesn't come from you. It comes from them. So you got to constantly ask for their opinion. Because believe me, so many times people are like in this nest and they think they know everything and they are not connected with the people. You're spending too much time golfing and you're no longer talking to your field leaders, what they're doing. There's no hands-on. Another thing Lincoln talks about in this book is, he talks about go out there and circulate among your troops. Find out what they're doing. Go find out what they're doing. But the key is this. The key is to know that you constantly ask for their opinions. Point number 13, persuade instead of manipulate. So what does this mean? Look, you ever heard someone say, you know, that guy is too calculated. Way too calculated. Oh my, everything is calculating to that guy. Well, why don't you give me that calculating guy? Because I like leading calculating people. Do you know why? Because when it's times of crisis and you're in war and the enemy is shooting you from every single angle, what kind of a leader do you want? You want a naive leader or you want a calculating leader? You see, you give me a calculating leader that's going to say, hey, 7 of you guys, I want you to go behind that mountain right there. 8 of you guys, go to that building, hide right there, and the sniper, go to the top. Hey, you, I want you to go over there. The enemy's attacking us. You guys, I want you to stay here and make them feel like this is where we are and we're going to attack them from. There needs to be calculating part. I like calculating leaders. I don't mind having calculating leaders. But here's the part that people have a problem with. They want to make sure you are calculating, but this is what they don't want. They don't want somebody that's manipulating everybody, because the better you get at communication, you get better at manipulating people. You cannot. The tipping point of persuasion is right here. You tip, you're manipulating. It's only about you and defending you. You can't be there. You got to be right here. It's about them. You're persuading. They don't mind you persuading them. They don't mind you being calculating. They have a very big problem when you manipulate people. So how do you do that? How do you get improving that? John Maxwell wrote a book a few years ago. I bought this at an airport, read it in one sitting. Everyone communicates, few connect. What the most effective people do differently. You got to learn how to communicate and connect with your people. This is a great book for it. Point number 14. Don't take credit for their ideas. My goodness. I explained this to one of my friends today from Chicago, and I said there is nothing more annoying. I used to work with this person in the past, and this person would come and sit us down and I would ask ideas. And we would spend 1 day, 2 days, and it was ideas. And then they would go to the board and they say, this is the idea I came up with. And then he would go on stage and says, I came up with this idea. All the guys would come up to me and say, wait a minute. She said, I came up with that idea. Why didn't he and she give me the recognition? I came up with that idea. Boom. They lost loyalty. And typically, you know who you lose loyalty with? Your performers. They don't like that. If somebody give you the idea, give them credit for giving the idea. Now, let me explain something to you. There's a lot of people out there that read this book, 40 Laws of Power. I'm interviewing him next week. Stay tuned because you'll see the video with him as well. There's a lot of people that talk about the book, 40 Laws of Power. And the challenge with this book, 40 Laws of Power, is to teach you what manipulators will do to you. But it's not about reading this book to be this book. See, I read this book to know what some people that try to overpower you by manipulating you with the tools that this book offers. This book was never written for you to do actually everything it tells this book to do to other people. The book says, go let other people do the work, you take the credit. I'm sorry. If you want to build a team of one person, you go do that. If you want to build a team of loyal people that want to run with you for the rest of your life, that will run through a wall for you, you got to let them read this so they also know that other people can do this. A lot of people read this book and they don't want to share it with other people. Go read this book and see what happens when other people try to overpower you in manipulative ways. And eventually when you lose the naiveness, because in the world of competition, if you're not sharp and you're too naive, you will be eaten alive in the world of business. And it happens all the time in the world of business. So if you think it's about, let me take the ideas from other people and take the credit for it, guess what book you need to read? You need to read Barbarians to Bureaucrats by Lawrence Miller. I spoke to Lawrence Miller, brilliant man, consultant, and he wrote this book. In the book, he talks about different phases that every society, organization, company goes through. There's always an original prophet as the founder, right? After the prophet is a barbarian, people that are willing to go run through the wall and take over territories. And sometimes the prophet is the barbarian. And then you have the builders, then you have the explorers, then you have the administrators, then you have the bureaucrats, then you have the aristocrats, and then you have the synergist that brings the whole thing together. See, sometimes if you're going out there and you're losing things with your guys because you're not giving them the credit, you're taking all the credit and you're so far at the top and you no longer are connected, you don't even talk to your people, they got to go through 50 different people before they get a hold of you, maybe you're becoming a bureaucrat and an aristocrat. If your handicap is par, you're probably a bureaucrat and aristocrat because you're playing too much time, spending too much time golfing, and you're not in the trenches with them. You go out there and you want to find out if someone is in the trenches with them, see how bad their golf game is. You'll generally be able to tell if someone's still in the game, how bad their golf game is. I could care less about my game impressing you. I want to care about you seeing me growing the organization and leading the troops. That's what I care about. That's what a CEO, that's what a leader, that's what a sales organization leader needs to care about the most. Now, next one. I'm a big fan of giving equity. Give people to earn the opportunity to own a piece of the company. For many years, companies have taken the philosophy of, I'll give them a pension plan. You give pension and they give you 30 years. Do you really get the best out of them, or do you get the mediocre part of them for 30 years? See, I want you. I want the best of you. And we're all pretty good babysitters. At some point, everybody has babysat somebody. But you know who we take care of the most? Our own baby. Do you know what happens when your leaders have a shot at owning a piece of the company? It's their baby now. It's not just about you. So imagine if a pool of people own a company together, own a business together. That is powerful when people are going out there and building a company like that. Next point. Have examples of successful leaders that you personally have developed. They asked John Wooden, John, for how long did you struggle coaching your freshmen that came out of high school? And these kids that came out of high school, everybody was All-American. In their high school, they were the best ones. So they would go from being the guy that everybody in high school talks, now you got 12 of them that have all the same mindset. How did you get that guy to come and play for you for him to be coachable to you? Did it happen where eventually they won one championship and they started listening to you? Said, no, it wasn't one championship, because anybody can get lucky and win one. But the moment I won two, people started buying into my philosophy. That's what happened. In business, you got to have proof of developing leaders to earn long-term loyalty of people. Not once, but it's got to be 2 or more times of you having success developing leaders to earn their respect. And the last point I'll tell you is this. Don't act perfect. I want to know your flaws. I want to know your issues. And the last book, because of that, is Hypomanic Edge. You know what Hypomanic Edge talks about? It talks about how many people are the link between craziness and success in America, is what this book says. Hypomanic Edge talks about how crazy people are. And it talks about how different people are. And I like knowing that. I like knowing that people are not normal. People have flaws. Anybody who is too perfect, no one wants to work with a perfect person, because you constantly remind them of their imperfections. And so those are the 17 points on how to create loyalty with your organization. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe to on the bottom as well. And a couple things I will tell you. I suggest you watch this video with your sales organization and your leadership team and sharing this video with them. And let them learn it as well. Don't be somebody that is too late and you lose somebody. Start creating the environment of these 17 points to create loyalty. And if you got some questions on the bottom, post the questions. I'll ask it. If you're on Twitter, follow me at Patrick B. David. I also answer the questions on Twitter as well. And then if you have any questions, I'll respond it on both of them. And stay tuned for the rest of them we'll have. Thanks for watching, everybody.